Are you Mandalorian?
I'm a simple man making his way through the galaxy, like my father before me.
Oh, greetings, Bucketheads. Mavar Tigar. Welcome to a special bonus episode of the Mando Vision podcast. Nargai Tom, and thank you so much for checking out this small independent Star Wars podcast. Be sure to remember that the best way to reach out to us is via social media at Mando_Vision on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you're doing that whole social media thing. And like, subscribe, share the show with all your friends, all the other Mandalorians in your covert. Recommend us to your enemies, your bitterest of bitter enemies. If you're on the Apple Podcast, we would truly appreciate any 5-star reviews you can take the time to share with us. And hey, thanks so much for listening. Remember, we are part of the 3BZine network of podcasts. That means you can head over to 3BZine.com. We will find links and tabs to all the other shows on the network. That includes Beer Night in San Diego, the Tomcast Popcast, our pop culture-based podcast. We mostly talk about Marvel stuff there, at least for the time being. And then, of course, this podcast that you are listening to, Mando Vision, where we talk about, so much Star Wars stuff, and so much sweet, sweet, sweet Star Wars stuff. All right, so before we get into this special bonus episode of the show, remember, it's time. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
He's no good to me dead.
All right, as our sounders seem to indicate, we're talking about Boba Fett, because Boba Fett has become the king of all Star Wars media recently here. Not only at the end of Season 2 with Mandalorian was it announced that Boba Fett would get his own spin-off series, The Book of Boba Fett, coming this Christmas to Disney+. Yesterday, Marvel teased an image of a black-clad Boba Fett and a blaster in one hand and a giant spear in the other, I should say. Obviously it was Marvel teasing the image, so we had some indication this would be a comic book of some sort, but we weren't given too much information about it. The announcement was coming today on February 16th, and today that announcement was given to us. There will be a new Boba Fett based miniseries coming out. Basically, it's Boba Fett versus everyone in the new War of the Bounty Hunters miniseries coming from Marvel Comics. In May, they will launch with War of the Bounty Hunters Alpha, and then it'll be a miniseries, 4 parts, and it'll also spin out into the other books of the Star Wars universe that Marvel's publishing. That's Star Wars and Darth Vader and the Bounty Hunters book, and probably even Dr. Aphra, if I were to venture a guess here. Let me see if I can find any information on it real quick. Yeah, Star Wars, Bounty Hunters, Darth Vader, and Dr. Aphra, along with the core 5-issue War of the Bounty Hunters miniseries, which will begin in June. So that's exciting, but what's this all mean? And who's going to be doing this book? Well, it's being written by Charles Soule. Charles Soule has been writing Star Wars books for Marvel for 5-6 years now. He's done quite a bit of them. I think he started off way back when doing the Poe Dameron series when that was going on. He took over, was writing Darth Vader for a long time. He has been very intimately involved in Star Wars comics for Marvel for quite some time now, and he's also the author of the first book in the High Council, the High Republic series of a new timeline for Star Wars that's being explored in various novels and books at this point. So Charles Soule, very well versed in the Star Wars galaxy. He's obviously a big fan, and as someone who has read much of his comics and is reading his High Republic book, I can say, yeah, he is a man very well qualified to write some more Star Wars stuff and kick off this new Boba Fett adventure, basically. And so what's this book going to be about? Well, hold on. I should mention that he has a really killer art team here. Charles Soule is writing. Luke Ross will be doing the art on the main book, but something that might catch your interest as well is the work that Steve McNiven is going to be on board with this as well. And I believe McNiven has drawn the Alpha kind of bookend that will kick everything off. I think they're billing it as a prelude to the War of the Bounty Hunters book. And Steve McNiven obviously is a very gifted, very dynamic artist as well. Very, cinematic scope, I would say Steve McNiven has. You might know him from the work he's done with Mark Millar on various Millerverse books. And yeah, that's going to be pretty exciting. But Luke Ross, no slouch either. So that's really something exciting to look forward to as far as the team goes. But again, what's this book about? Well, it's going to fill in a gap in Star Wars history. We on this podcast we've talked a lot about the old expanded universe and the old canon and how it's gone, and how that makes me sad most of the time, because there's a lot of good stuff in that canon that I really really enjoyed. There's a lot of crap in it too, so don't get it twisted. There is, as much good as there is bad, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to get into the ratio 60-40 maybe. Something like that. But so with that old canon wiped away, we have a new playground. We have a new area that has yet to be really explored, at least any more than a passing reference, maybe here and there. And we are picking up. This book will pick up between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. This is Boba Fett and his attempt to deliver the carbonite frozen body of Captain Han Solo to Jabba the Hutt. Now, Charles Soule has said in the press release here that I have in front of me that when the book starts, when Empire ends, Boba Fett is in possession of Han Solo's carbonite frozen body. When this book starts, he is not, and he is bound and determined to do what it takes to get Han Solo back. And listen, we know, spoilers, if you've seen Return of the Jedi, Boba Fett delivers Han Solo to Jabba the Hutt. Case closed. We know where this ends. But, it's not always about knowing where the ending is. It's the journey along the way, and that's the fun part. So we're going to get to see what happens when Boba Fett has to do, apparently has to go to war against all the other bounty hunters to retrieve the frozen body of Captain Solo. What I thought was so interesting about this, and what I kind of alluded to a moment ago, was this story had been told in old canon. You may remember, if you're old like me, you may remember, back in the late, I think it was the late 90s, they maybe the mid 90s, they sort of did like an initiative, a cross-wide Star Wars initiative with comics and books and video games. You may remember the game I'm going to mention in a second as one of the key games of the N64 release when they dropped that puppy on us. Shadows of the Empire. That was going to be a multimedia kind of event that Lucasfilm was pushing to help tell the story of the characters between Empire and Return of the Jedi. You got introduced to, we basically caught up with Luke and Leia and Chewie and Lando, but you were introduced to some new characters as well. You got Dash Rendar, who was a sort of Han Solo knockoff anagram kind of character. But you also got introduced to the Black Sun criminal organization, which that has carried on in the new canon. So Black Sun, part of that, this new canon that we exist in currently. I don't know for sure if Prince Shizor has made the jump to the new canon, but in this old Shadows of the Empire, Black Sun was run by Prince Shizor, and a member of the Faline species. So he had these pheromones, and he could make women go crazy for him. I don't know if that plays real well in 2021, so I'll be honest, I don't know if Shizor's making the jump to the new canon or not. But it's interesting to kind of think back, because the comic book aspect of the Shadows of the Empire release was very much focused on Boba Fett and his journey from Cloud City to Tatooine to deliver Han Solo, and the various battles and attempts of the other bounty hunters to take Solo from Boba Fett, because the reward was so big that every bounty hunter in the galaxy wanted a piece of it. So we got to explore more of those bounty hunters that we saw on the Star Destroyer with Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back. We got Bosk, and we got Dengar, we got Forlom, and we got Zuckuss. The whole shebang was there, and they all were making a play for Solo. So it was really good stuff. And I think I've mentioned on the podcast before, I believe it's in that comic book series that Boba Fett kills IG-88 in his own ship above orbit of Tatooine as he's about to make his approach down to Jabba's palace. So a lot of old canon that I will probably be revisiting as as I want to kind of. I will want to kind of compare and contrast. I suspect Charles Soule will be telling a very, very different story than what occurred in Shadows of the Empire. But for posterity's sake and for the sake of this podcast and giving you all as much information and as much old and new as I can, I will probably go back. I'm sure I have. I know I have the original issues of Shadows of the Empire somewhere. but I'm hoping I have them in a trade paperback somewhere instead, because that will be a little bit easier for me to find and to locate. Uh, one day I'll post a picture of the enormity of the 10 by 10 storage unit and the 10,000 long boxes of comic books that fill it. But I don't want to rifle through that and attempt to find Shadows of the Empire. I will go through my trade paperback collection, and if I have to, I will go digitally, just to avoid going through all those long boxes that are down in the basement. No, thank you. So that's the big announcement. I think it's pretty exciting stuff. We haven't talked too much about the Star Wars line from Marvel, but it's been really good. It's been really solid. There have been a few things where I'm like, man, I don't know if I needed this whole thing. But by and large, the regular series books that they've been doing, which have mostly consisted of Star Wars, of Darth Vader, and of Dr. Aphra, have been very good and very enjoyable. And then there's been like a multitude of miniseries and stuff like that around them. And those have been mostly enjoyable as well. Mostly. There's always some that don't quite click for me, but that's okay. That's okay. And one of the things I should mention too is, since Marvel has become the publisher of Star Wars comic books again, Boba Fett has played a larger role in the mythology. The first volume of the new Star Wars books that Marvel put out, and I want to say they started publishing it in 2014, but it might have been 2015, and it was with oh gosh, I think it was Jason Aaron was the writer on that series, and it was being drawn by John Cassaday, and so beautiful artwork, a wonderful writer, and Jason Aaron very quickly interjected Boba Fett into the mythology well prior to his appearance in Empire Strikes Back. That first volume takes place right after the end and the destruction of the Death Star and the rebels fleeing from Yavin base. And listen, spoiler alert right now. I'll tell you how he interjects Boba Fett into this earlier time period, and why it's so cool and makes him so important in some of the other Star Wars mythology. All right, so Vader hires Boba Fett because Vader wants to find out, hey, who blew up the Death Star? That was some crazy stuff. Who blew up the Death Star? Boba Fett finds out. Boba Fett is the one who delivers the news to Darth Vader that it was some kid named Skywalker, which, again, the consequences and repercussions and the reverberations of Darth Vader learning that he has a son via Boba Fett is it's one of those really fun moments, I think, for the lore, where two characters are talking about another character, and one character has no idea the significance of the other character, but it leads to a fun. There's also a fun battle between Boba Fett and the young Luke Skywalker, a sort of not well trained Luke Skywalker, who sort of escapes with a little bit of blind luck from, and the aid of the Force, I would imagine, but is able to get away from Boba Fett. But not before Boba Fett obviously learns his name and is able to take it back to Vader for a mission accomplished. And again, interjecting Boba Fett at a very crucial moment, when Vader discovers that he has a son, and his son is the one who blew up the Death Star. Shocking stuff. So, they've been doing a really nice job with Boba Fett in the comic books. The Star Wars comics have been really, really fun and really, really enjoyable. Like I said, the main books and the main Star Wars title and the Vader one are my two favorites. But I mean, I think that's obvious. I have not started the new Bounty Hunter series yet, but I am getting caught up on some of my other Star Wars reading, so that will be in the mix as well. So I can't wait. And now I got this Boba Fett War of the Bounty Hunters to look forward to. So yeah, don't worry. The push to get caught up on everything is going to happen. It's going to happen real quick, because I want to read this book. When that alpha drops in May, I want to read it. And when the rest of the stuff comes out over the summer, trust me, we're going to read about it. We're going to talk about it here on the podcast. So big
news. If you haven't been reading Star Wars comics, maybe now's the time. Maybe this is the book that makes you want to check it out. Or, you can just wait till fall, when they'll probably collect it all in one book and you can just read it all in one sitting. Up to you. Up to you. But I'm excited about this. I hope you all are excited about this. Again, hit us up on the social media at Mando_Vision. If you want to share your thoughts with me, I'd love to hear back from everybody. And yeah, good stuff. All right, I think that's it. We're gonna wrap up the mini Bantha Tracks bonus episode real quick. Just give you the information and get the heck out of Dodge. So again,
thank you all so much for listening. I have been just completely wowed by all the support that this show has been getting, particularly as we have sort of transitioned from the Mandalorian episodes into reviewing Star Wars: The Clone Wars, which I think a lot of people have already watched, and they probably already listened to a lot of podcasts that have already reviewed that. But for those of you who stuck around to go on the journey with me as I rewatch these shows, again, I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart, and I hope you will continue to do so. You're continuing to have fun listening to me watch these old shows. It's going to be a ride, don't worry. All right, so for the podcast for MandoVision, Nargai Tom, thank you so much for listening to us. We will be back extremely soon. And remember, the best way to listen to this there's only one way to listen to this podcast. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
I would like to see the baby.